Hello, everyone. This is Lee Andrews with another Live with Lee. And as you might be able to tell, this has been a woman's power, hour this week on all of these live broadcasts. So we're really trying to round out how women become successful, why they remain successful, and what it takes for them to have done this so that we can emulate what they do to achieve the same results. So before we get started, again, I'm Lee Andrews, and I'm with a company called Cathy. I am an executive and direct hire search expert. I focus in marketing, communications, creative, digital, and graphic design. So if you are looking for work or if you are in need of helping to fill some key positions within your organization, I am happy to help you. Today with us is Cathy Rubino Hines. She is the president and CEO of the Marketing Collaborative based out of upstate New York, Rochester, New York. And I have to provide full disclosure here. We are related. We are cousins. So don't let that dissuade you from staying on this, from staying on this call. But the reason that I asked Cathy to join me today is because she has maintained what many businesses, regardless of ownership, can't and haven't done, which is stay in business for 10 years or longer as an independent contractor and as a small business. More than 65% of businesses that start fail within the first 10 years. So congratulations to you on that, Cathy. We're going to learn how this happened, why it happened, and how you just keep moving on. All right. So Cathy, do you want to tell people what the Marketing Collaborative is all about before we move forward?
Absolutely. I'm, Cathy Rubino Hines. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you, Lee, for inviting me. The Marketing Collaborative really is a healthcare marketing consulting firm. We work directly with all kinds of healthcare organizations, senior living facilities, hospitals, health centers. We work directly with C-level executives, helping them to solve their business problems. So that's really what we're all about. And we're so excited to do it. It's very, very rewarding work, especially during this COVID. It really has been.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. How has COVID changed your business scope right now?
Well, it's very interesting. Some clients were completely stopped their marketing, but the majority of my clients just shifted gears, and we shifted gears to more about patient education, because really in healthcare, it's not so much of the marketing, but of the education piece of it, and that's really key, especially with COVID. So that's what we've been doing, helping them understand when they need to get tested. When they should come into the office, should they have a virtual call, all these kinds of topics and questions that people have had and that you see over social media. That's what we're constantly educating our patients about, and that's really changed quite a bit, I think, over the COVID crisis.
Yeah. So let's talk about your career, because that's really what we want to understand. How you got to this place. So you were at a CMO level before you opened up your organization, or what was it that moved you into this independent space?
Well, as you know, Lee, I have some entrepreneurial spirit in my family. And it always was part of my game plan that I would have my own company. But after being laid off 4 times from advertising agencies, and the last time being in 2008, when the market was really, bad and there weren't jobs to be had, I decided, hey, this is the perfect time to start my own business. What I learned from those 4 layoffs was that I was not in charge of my destiny, and I needed to be in charge of my destiny. I have 3 children, and I wanted my career the way I wanted my career, in the way I wanted my career. So I started my company then, and I started reaching out as a general advertising agency, knowing that I loved healthcare. And as it turned out, over the first few years, I started doing more and more work with healthcare organizations, because that was a lot of my network. And at any rate, after a couple of years, I realized that was really where my heart was at, was in healthcare. So I switched gears again, and I think that's one of the key things that entrepreneurs need to do, which is switch gears when they need to.
Right.
In my case, it was really repositioning my company and myself as a healthcare marketing consultant. And once I started saying those words, I think C-level executives really started to um, relate to what I was saying. There's a lot of confusion about what is marketing, what isn't marketing. And when I started talking about myself as a consultant, that was something that they could grab onto. They hired a lot of consultants. And when I said it was all about healthcare and marketing and communication, that was something that C-levels could really relate to, and I think was really a turning point for my business.
So, if I'm hearing you correctly, as a solopreneur, when you first started, it really is about fine tuning that message of what you do and what you bring to an organization. That's the first part, right? Like,
absolutely. And it wasn't, I always had a team of people around me, and I think it's really important that you listen to your clients. And what I was doing was I worked with a business development group, and I would tell them what were my successes, what weren't my successes. And from all those conversations, I started to listen to what the feedback I was getting. I wasn't in the beginning positioning myself against every other advertising agency in the area was not getting me the clients I wanted and the growing my business the way I wanted it to grow. But the minute I could shift gears and say that I was a healthcare marketing consultant, there really weren't many or any in the market who could say that. And that's when the business really started to change. So I really advise listening to your current clients, and also paying attention to the business that you don't get.
So it's interesting. You just mentioned that you were working with a business development group. Mm-hmm. Did you do that as a solopreneur to get your business going, or are you talking about business development within clients that you were working with? Did you hire this company?
It was a group that was already established, and I joined them. There's a person from each, like there's an attorney, there's different industries that are represented in this group. And we've been together for probably about 8 or 9 years. They're all entrepreneurs themselves. Even the attorney, I would say he's an entrepreneur because he has to really build his own practice.
Oh, yeah.
So, and we had an accountant, same situation, has to build his own practice. So those folks really brought some outside perspective to my business that I needed early on and even to this day. So that kind of advice, I would really seek out those kinds of groups, whether it's your own networking group or you join a group. I think that has been extremely helpful to me.
Now, it's interesting that you say this because I think that people will automatically think to look internally, like look at their own family. So you come from a family of entrepreneurs, and yet you still broadened your network outside of that. So how important was that to you to get that outside perspective?
Oh, that's extremely valuable. I mean, that is, I think, top 2-3 things of an entrepreneur. You need to get some outside perspective. And I remember from the early days, I would just reach out to my network. And really, I don't mix business with family. So you're just probably an exception, Lee. But at any rate, I reached out to my network, and I just started talking to other entrepreneurs and asking them for advice. And I found that people were extremely helpful. And even if there was just one little nugget I could take from everybody, you put it all together. And, I remember what people told me, even something simple like a really good friend of mine who has his own agency said to me, "You're going to be successful. There's no doubt about it. Just put one foot in front of the other," meaning take baby steps. Don't be afraid to take the next step. And that has stuck with me for all these years. And so it pushes me to keep going to the next level and the next level.
So since you opened up that doorway to saying take baby steps and put one step in front of the other, this week we had on another broadcast Eliana Hassan and Sean Budnick, both very senior level players in businesses, partners and presidents, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And the question that I asked them, and we discussed it, was why do women hesitate to ask for what they want? So putting one foot in front of the other requires that you ask for what you want.
Yeah.
Did you find that difficult, or was that just something that came to you naturally?
Oh, no, that doesn't come natural. I think that's a skill set that you need to acquire. I think that was something that, again, through networking, people, encouraged me to ask. But it was the most difficult part for me was asking for the compensation that I believed was needed for my services. And the only thing that held me back, I found out now looking back, was me asking for it. And it took a while for me to get the courage to ask for that compensation. And then now, still to this day, that's always the piece when I'm putting a proposal together, the compensation. And I give options, but I always give the options to which are appropriate. So I was underpricing myself for years and realizing, and I was tracking, how much time and energy I was putting into with my clients. So after a couple of years of doing that and realizing, really I'm not being compensated correctly. It took me a little bit, but yeah, I finally asked, and you know what? It was pretty interesting. I had a high success rate from asking. But that also included a part of that ask was asking the right person.
Oh.
So getting to the highest level person within an organization, if possible, the CEO, to talk with that person and understand their problems and their hot buttons and propose solutions that could make their lives easier was certainly something that they could appreciate, and there was really no price tag to that. So asking became easy when I was asking the right person.
Interesting. So let's take it back one step further. What pushed you over the edge to say, I've just got to ask? I can wait no longer to ask for this rate that I know that I deserve. What pushed you over the edge?
I believed in myself. I believed in the services that I was providing. I saw the results that I was getting for my clients. I saw that their businesses were growing, that their patient volume was going from X to Y. And the only thing that was changing was my programs that I was putting in place. And I have to say, one of my clients, I did a presentation in front of the board of directors about our marketing program. And after that, the board of directors said, we need to keep Cathy on. And, they were so impressed with that, and again, there was a little bit of outside perspective to give to the CEO, and that I think, and now a part of my regular routine is I talk with the CEOs, I present to the board of directors, I interview the board of directors as part of my due diligence when I'm working with my clients, because their input is in direct correlation with my success, but it also has something to do with my compensation and me even staying, on as their chief marketing officer, because they have options. But if I don't keep that door open and that communication clear, then I am, likely to not be their CMO for. I've been CMO for Finger Lakes Community Health for 10 years. And and other clients, for long periods of time. So that's, I think, some of the what makes it a little bit easier to ask and how to keep your business successful.
Terrific. So you're not just working with one company, you work with multiple companies, or are you primarily helping your current client?
Well, I limit my practice to 2 primary clients a
Nice.
year. Yeah.
Nice. And I think that's important because you need to know your scope, what you want to take on, and the lifestyle that you want to lead.
Mhm.
I think that's critical for
Absolutely.
their business. Yeah.
Well,
And
I want to give them high quality results and programs, and I know what it takes to do that. Marketing takes a lot of time. You know that, Lee. It's very detailed. The devil is in the details, and so I've come to that conclusion over the last couple of years that I spend on the 2 primary clients. I'll take on some smaller projects, but primarily it's 2 clients.
So this next question is, and just pretend that you're talking to 50 women in front of you that are considering starting their own business because it's COVID, right? And
Yeah.
we've got an economic downturn. It's COVID. I don't think that we could get much worse than where we are, and yet you've got women who want to start their own business. What are the 1 or 2 things, Cathy, that you went through that you would hope that nobody else has to experience when they go down this path? What would you do differently?
Well, I wouldn't get a divorce the same year that I started my business.
That had to be challenging.
But that happens. So what wouldn't I do? I think that if I'd had the opportunity to do some due diligence before I actually started my business, I didn't have that opportunity because I was laid off and I really needed the income. So I started the business and did my outreach and did my due diligence, which is why after a couple of years, I made the switch. Other entrepreneurs I've talked to have done, had a business plan. And yeah, I would have loved to have had a business plan from the day that I opened my doors, but I didn't. I evolved into that. In fact, I didn't have a website until 2 years after I was in business. I used my LinkedIn profile as my calling card, so that served me well. But some of the big humps I think were, one, pricing myself too low so that I had to take on more clients. And so I worked a lot of hours in order to get the income that I thought I was deserving of, or my business was. And I think working with clients that we didn't meet our minds did not meet on whatever the core qualities. And I think now when I meet prospective clients, it's important to me that we have a meeting of the minds, that there are people that will appreciate what I bring to the party and I appreciate what they bring to the party. I don't know how to run a hospital. I don't know how to run a health center. They don't know how to do marketing. They don't know how to do patient education. So if there's an appreciation but from both of us, that's a win-win for me. And that's the kind of people I want to work for. And I've been blessed over the years that I've been able to work with those folks. So early on, maybe not so much, but I think it's easier for me to ask the right questions and for them to see that they're going to get what they need to solve their problems.
So, thank you for that. So, have you ever had to walk away from a client?
Yes.
That's pretty hard, right?
That's very hard. The other thing I wanted to mention was when I pivoted to healthcare marketing consultant, that also meant saying no to others who were calling me that weren't in healthcare. That's one of the hardest things that an entrepreneur has to do. But when you say no to somebody, that means you have room for others that fit your criteria. And walking away from a piece of business is just as hard. But again, it's the reasons usually are that there isn't a meeting of the minds, that there's not the appreciation for marketing. One of the number one things that I've had to deal with and had to explain for 10 years is, what is marketing and how can it work for my company? I remember talking with a CEO who said to me, and who had multiple degrees, and she said, out of all the courses that I've taken, the least number of courses is probably in marketing. So I don't have that background. Can you please help me? And that really was eye-opening, because, you might have your MBA, but somebody who's got their MBA from a hospital may have taken a course or two in marketing. They don't have the knowledge base. So from how do you price it? What are the reasonable returns that you might be able to get? All of those things. So I have to spend a lot of time educating my clients. And you know what? I don't mind that, because that works in my favor, because that helps them respect what I'm bringing to the table. But it also it's a service that I give, to help people understand, because what we're really doing is problem solving.
Yeah.
I'm putting a marketing twist on solving their problem. They don't have anybody else at the C-level table who can do what I do. Somebody's talking about operations, somebody's talking about personnel, somebody's talking about all, but no one's talking about how to educate the patients, how to improve their patient volume, that's what I do. So educating them on what I can do is top on my list. Did I answer your question, or did I go off?
Nope, you sure did. So I want to, so as an entrepreneur, it is saying no is very difficult. It's never easy to say no. Have you ever had a client that you have had to say no more?
No more.
Have you ever had to cut off that relationship? I can't support your efforts anymore.
I don't think so. Honestly, healthcare is not an area where the budgets are so huge. At least my clients haven't, so I had to say, oh, you can't afford this, or we can't do this. No, I think that my passion for healthcare is so strong that I always find a way to help them and to do what is needed. Mm-hmm. So no, I really haven't had to shut that off. The walking away from the business completely, that's the piece that you have to really think about, and think about whether, it does come down to your quality of life, because you can't just work 60 hours a week, not forever. I did that for a long time, but not forever. So I always think about my quality of life, so, and then make decisions.
So let's talk about that, because if you remember 10 years ago, it was probably a 60, 80-hour week, getting it ramped up and getting it going. So you have to be the salesperson, the office administrator, the business development, the marketing person, you're playing every role in a company, and you were raising 3 children, and you were going through a big relationship change. How did you manage all of that?
I don't know. No, I think I was working a lot of hours. I worked 7 days a week, and my office is in my home. So that was number one, very, very helpful, so that I had close contact with my children. I also have I have a village. I have a family. I have friends who helped me, when I needed, kid support, whatnot. And I think that the hard work, paid off. Now, I have to also say that my company is small, and it's small for a reason. I specifically wanted to earn X amount of dollars. I wanted to have a certain size company, so that I could support my family and my other needs that I have, and also provide that quality of work that I needed for health. for healthcare, for my healthcare clients. What I didn't want to do, I was very specific. I didn't want to manage, 20, 30, 50 people. I had done that when I worked at advertising agencies. I managed people. I really specifically wanted to do the work. I wanted to do the advertising and the marketing. So I surrounded myself with very smart professionals, my art directors, my copywriters, my market research people. All of those folks are very smart and they know what they're doing, and I get them on the team early, and I'm able to delegate, their portion of it. Yes. Do I have to bring it all together? Yes. Do I have to present it to the client? Yes. Do I have to make sure it's right? Yes. Do I have to understand the prospect? Absolutely. But by surrounding myself with smart people was probably one of the best decisions I ever made. And most of those people have stuck with me for 10 years. I mean, we've had a few changes, but most of them stuck with me for 10 years. And they know healthcare backwards and forwards. So my learning curve was shorter. Their learning curve was shorter. They could get up to speed with clients. Yeah, was it tough in the beginning? Did I work a lot of hours? Absolutely. You have to do that. I think. And then as time went on, I hired a bookkeeper. I hired other people. Things that I could outsource, I did. Things that I had to do myself, I do. And, you get through it. But I really enjoyed it. I loved what I was doing. It wasn't something that I could say, oh, wow, I got to get up tomorrow morning. It's Saturday and I got all this to do. I worked early mornings because the kids slept in. I worked around their schedules. My business, it was my life. I could do my business the way I wanted to do my business. When they went to bed, I worked after that. So I was in charge. When I worked for others, I loved working for other people, other companies. They were wonderful, but I was on their schedule. I couldn't go to my kids' plays. When I opened up my business, if I wanted to see my daughters play 3 times, I did. And I just worked longer that night. I was in charge. That's the motivation that kept me going to keep my business successful, because I could be the kind of mother I wanted to be. I could be the kind of businesswoman I wanted to be. And what's better than that?
Wow. That was empowering. So we've got a couple of minutes left. And so you're a woman on a mission. You really have to be a person on a mission. Mm-hmm. So I want to talk to you about this other thing that we see a lot about and we hear a lot about. What about women being leaders, women being bossy, women being called all different kinds of names, they're just very strong leaders. They ask for what they want. They call things as they see them. And yet they are constantly being referred to as anything but a leader, right? So what it's like nails on a chalkboard, isn't it, Cathy? And it still happens to this day. So you are raising, I think you've got 2 girls? 2 girls?
1 girl and 2 boys.
1 girl and 2 boys. What is it that we need to be doing when we hear those things happening around us or to us, right? Somebody says, oh, you're just, being one of those people. You're being bossy. You're being, out of line. I've heard that. You're too aggressive as a woman. What do you say to those people?
I think you have to speak out. I think one of the major problems is that we don't speak, that we let those conversations or people call us those names or whatever it might be without us speaking out. I remember in the early days, the sexism that I experienced when I was in my early 20s, and I didn't have the confidence to speak out. And now I do. And you asked me about a client that I had to walk away from. That was a situation where I wasn't being respected. And I was speaking out. And then finally, even with giving my feedback and speaking out against the way I was being treated, I finally just had to walk away. And I think that, having a young daughter, she just turned 20. We talk about it all the time. And she knows how I feel about it, and that you can't let those things go by. You have to speak out for yourself. And it's not always, funny enough, it's not always men, putting women down. It's women putting women down. You see it in small social circles within their friend groups. And I always encourage her to speak up and tell your girlfriends the way that you feel. And those who are true friends will stick with you. The same thing holds true for business. People who respect you as a business person will want to be your client forever. And that's my advice, is to speak up and not let those things keep going.
So I'm hearing know your worth, be able to articulate your worth, have that passion for your mission, know what it is that the life that you want to lead, and work towards achieving that life through the business and the talent that you bring to your organizations, and speak up. Find your voice and make it very clear who you are and what you represent. Did I kind of encapsulate everything nicely?
You got it, Lee. Really
good.
Wow, you're a great listener.
So, well, this was a great, motivating and empowering discussion today. So thank you very much, Cathy. It is, we're at that 30-minute mark again. And I want to again thank everybody for joining me live at Lee, especially for those who are listening post the live broadcast. And thank you for subscribing to the YouTube channel with Lee Andrews at Akathame. Cathy can be reached on LinkedIn. Her name is right here on the screen. So if you want to connect with her, I'm sure she'll be happy to connect with you. And again, thank you so much, everybody. Cathy, for your time and generosity. I appreciate it. You can stay on the call. Thank you. Hold on as we close this out. Have a great afternoon, everyone.